Hello, guys, and welcome to Awesome Bundesliga Match Day 3. We have 5 teams who've won all games, 2 games, but this is also good news for them. And we have Borussia Dortmund dropping points, for instance, and Ronan Murphy is here with us to analyze, for instance, Harry Kane's goals. Hello, Ronan, how are you?
I am good. How are you, Eduardo?
All good. Well, Harry Kane has had a very good start in the Bundesliga. Lewandowski said that he might need some time to adapt. Not actually. He just arrived, landed, and scoring goals.
Yeah, he does, and I saw a stat that he's only a few goals away from Lewandowski's own Bundesliga debut season. So I think Harry Kane won't take much time to break that. And like we said last week, maybe there's a chance he could break the Bundesliga record, the scoring record. He's on target to do it so far. So maybe if he can stay fit and play every game, he could touch on the 40 goals in a season mark, because he's hit the ground running so far, and he hasn't even been that involved for Bayern Munich. So as soon as he gels a bit more with the team, perhaps he'll be even better.
Well, right now we have Jonas Wind from Wolfsburg and Kevin Behrens from Union Berlin on top of the goal scorer standing. So now it's time to analyze the 9 games we have this weekend before the international break. Remember, guys, since this is a live video, the first for Ronan, ask any question to him. He knows everything about the Bundesliga. And don't forget to press the like and subscribe. And now let's go on with the show. And we have already some comments from Italy, from Russia. Remember that we've partnered with 1xBet to have an exclusive welcome bonus of 130%. So you can use the promo code 𝐿Spedia_YouTube. You have the link in the description, and you can place your bets with a higher welcome offer in 1xBet. Let's start with the games. First one that we have is on Friday, and I want to read Blue Sharks' comment. I will never bet on Dortmund. I think this is coming in a good moment because Dortmund, they are playing at home against Heidenheim. I guess we should trust Dortmund to win this game, but away is another thing. They were absolutely rubbish against Bochum, and their start in the Bundesliga has not been good, because we have to remember also that they won the first game, but they suffer against Cologne.
Yeah, and I think Blue Shark has a good point, especially after our prediction last week. Never betting on Dortmund seems like a good one, because Bochum made us, made me anyway, look a bit stupid last week with the prediction that Borussia Dortmund could win. But I think that's the way they've been playing so far this season. They're still trying to adjust to life after Jude Bellingham. Edin Terzic is playing a 4-1-4-1, which did so well towards the latter half of last season. That's what he played at the weekend, and it just wasn't as effective without someone like Bellingham. Emre Can was disappointing again. He's the new captain. He should be kind of stepping up, but he didn't really put in one of his best performances, and maybe he's adjusting to life after Bellingham too. But Julian Brandt, I suppose, was the big bright spark for them. He seems to be carrying the team. He's stepping up even more with Bellingham out. He's kind of the player that they need to build around going forward. There was another positive in the fact that they were able to get on the score sheet. Daniel Malen, he got the goal for them. That was actually his 11th goal in 2023, which is tied for the most of any Bundesliga player. Randall 𝐿𝐭𝐿𝐿 of Eintracht Frankfurt is the only other player who has as many goals this year. So although the season hasn't been great, if you look back over the past year, Borussia Dortmund have been good. So there are positives to take, and we know Borussia Dortmund can do a lot on the pitch, and especially against a team like Heidenheim, especially at home in front of the yellow wall. It'll make a huge difference. Karim Adeyemi and Bino Gittins came off the bench in the last game, so maybe they could be in line to start. So we could see maybe a more attacking look to the two things this weekend. And one of our comments there from Bon Jovi is both teams to score. I'm actually not going for both teams to score in this one. I'm looking at Borussia Dortmund keeping a clean sheet this weekend, because Heidenheim, they're not that great up front. Borussia Dortmund, although they have been a bit shaky. Goalkeeper Gregor Kobel is a brilliant goalkeeper. He can keep the few shots that Heidenheim will get on target out. So I think he can do enough to keep a clean sheet this weekend, and Dortmund should score. And the stats show that Dortmund haven't kept a 0-0 in 129 Bundesliga games, which is a new Bundesliga record. It's the longest ever streak in the top flight in Germany. So I think Heidenheim, they will definitely concede, but whether they can score is the big question mark. So I'm looking at Dortmund to keep a clean sheet at 2.20 for my prediction for this one.
Okay, avoid anything about Dortmund. Blue Shark is telling us both teams to score to be on the safe side. Bonjobu, no. Ronan is saying that it's not a good idea to trust Heidenheim to score a goal in this game. And Aruna is telling us that Dortmund, definitely, they are not in top shape, missing Jude Bellingham. Real Madrid fans, we are enjoying him a lot so far. Hello from the US, from Nigeria. Let's go to more games. This one is not very sexy, we have to say. It's Augsburg Bochum. Perhaps you like the odds to back Augsburg, although 2.02 for a team like Augsburg is not too high, but and especially because they've only got 1 point so far, but they are scoring goals. This is a good thing for a team like Augsburg. Bochum on the other side also with 1 point. Both teams were out, by the way, in the cup at the beginning of the season. What do you expect here with Augsburg really favorite for the bookies?
Yeah, I think, like you said, this is definitely not a sexy game. If you're going to tune into any match, do not tune into this one. There's better games out there. If you're a hardcore Bundesliga fan, you'll probably catch it on the highlights or watch it later, like I will do, so we can keep an eye on things going forward. But these are two poor teams. Augsburg are on a bad run of their own at the moment. They haven't won in 5 games going back into last season. So to give them the favourites tag, it's kind of a difficult one, because this match, I'm not sure there are any favourites. The viewer definitely won't be the favourite this week. It'll be a difficult watch. It could be one of them kind of dogged the games. And Bochum, as we saw last week against Borussia Dortmund, they're coming into their own. They're kind of getting a feel for each other, because they've had so many late signings. They haven't really had a chance to gel. They've left some of their transfer window market activity late this summer. So I think they're getting used to each other. They are getting to give a bit more trust in each other. And last week that kind of showed against Borussia Dortmund. They pressed highly throughout. They worked hard. They won a lot of second balls. Borussia Dortmund looked frustrated at times. So they can do damage on the counter. So I don't think Augsburg will have it as easy as the favourites tag shows. And I think some additions like Kevin Schlotterbeck, who was only a new signing last week, he could be a big help to them in defence. So I think Bochum, the draw for them might be on the cards this weekend. I'm not sure that they'll win, obviously, but I don't think Augsburg should be as favoured as they are, because they haven't really shown us they can do too much yet. So I think a draw might be the best pick to go for this game. You could even look at Bochum to win if you really want to put your neck on the line. But I think Bochum should have enough. They showed they could draw against Dortmund, so they definitely should be able to draw against Augsburg. And like you've shown on the screen, we're shown on the screen there, it's coming in just under 4 at the moment, so it could work out very well.
Well, good odds if we back the draw. For sure, it's not a good price for going for Augsburg, especially as you've mentioned that they haven't shown anything interesting so far in the competition. Next game, difficult to bet on this game or to find value. Let's see where Ronan finds it, because we have Leverkusen, Darmstadt, and of course, Xabi Alonso's men have to be very favorite. 6 points in the first 2 games. Great victories against Gladbach and against Leipzig, 2 difficult teams, scoring 6 goals. We already have Tam Boniface, both with 2 goals. So everything is very positive for Leverkusen. For Darmstadt, I guess we still need to wait a little bit, Ronan, because their schedule is being very tough in the first 3 games: Union Berlin, Frankfurt, and now Leverkusen.
Yeah, it's a very tough welcome to the Bundesliga for Darmstadt. They could have been easily handed better matches, but they weren't. So it's going to be very difficult for them to get anything from this match. And the odds kind of reflect that. You can see Darmstadt 15; they're that high to take anything from, well, to win, and 7.75 for the draw. It's even massive. You can see why Leverkusen are so highly favoured, because they've played so well so far. They haven't even had easy games themselves. They've had two tricky fixtures of their own, but they came through with flying colours. The Xabi Alonso kind of train seems to keep on running. He's getting more and more hype after every game, and they deserve it. Leverkusen, they look like a great team that can create a lot of chances. And there was a stat that came out after the match that Florian Wirtz, he was the first player in any of the Europe's big five leagues since 2005 to create 11 chances or more in a game. So that just shows how many opportunities that Bayer Leverkusen are getting, even against the good teams. So it's going to be hard for Darmstadt to keep Bayer Leverkusen out for any period of the match. It's going to be a really tricky tie for them. And like you said, Boniface, he looks like a brilliant addition. He looks like the forward that Leverkusen have been kind of missing over the last few seasons, the out and out forward, because he just gets into great positions. He takes great shots. He takes a lot of shots. So just the amount of shots that he's taken throughout, it's going to get you goals, because those opportunities, he will convert some of them. He doesn't have to convert them all, obviously, but he will convert some of them. And he he took 11 shots last weekend, which is the most ever for a Leverkusen player in the Bundesliga. So he will keep getting on the score sheet for them. They will get a lot of goals, and they probably will get a lot of goals this weekend against Darmstadt, because Darmstadt, although, like I was saying in last week's episode, they were the best defense in the second league last season. They won't be the best defense in the Bundesliga, because you come up against a different sort of striker, and that's what they will be coming up against this weekend. So I'm looking at Leverkusen to win big in this one, and my prediction for this one is Leverkusen minus 2.25 on the Asian handicap, and that's coming in at 2.4.
Exactly. We have it here. The line is in -2, so they have to win by 3 goals margin for you to win the bet. It's difficult to find value. Leverkusen to win comfortably. Leverkusen solid team. For Andres, this is a smashing. For Arbos, so it's good to go for Asian handicap for Leverkusen to win both halves. Perhaps to spice it up with Boniface to score something extra for you to win more money, or Leverkusen and over 2.5 goals. For instance, just use the build a bet feature that many bookies have to find your good bet for this Leverkusen Darmstadt. Better odds in the next one, because we have Hoffenheim, Wolfsburg, and surprisingly, I would say Hoffenheim are slightly favorites for this game. I say surprisingly because Wolfsburg, they are on top of the table with 6 points. They won both games against Cologne and Heidenheim. Wind scored all 4 goals for Wolfsburg, and they are visiting Hoffenheim. 3 points for them after beating Heidenheim. But we have to say, Ronan, that they scored the 3 goals in the last 15 minutes of the game. They were losing 2-0 until the 70th minute.
Yeah, it showed kind of a great mentality in the Hoffenheim team to be able to come back, because it looked like they were dead and buried going into the last 10 minutes of the game, but they were able to come back. They were able to score late, and we know Hoffenheim can do things like this, because when you have a forward like Kramaric, you're always dangerous. And I think a couple of goals were poor defending, and they won't have it so easy against Wolfsburg this weekend, because Wolfsburg, for the past few years, they've been known as a team who can defend. We've seen many of their defenders go on to get big moves to bigger leagues after kind of impressing in defence for Wolfsburg. Mickey van de Ven to Spurs, I suppose, is the most recent one. But at the other end, like you're saying, Jonas Wind, he's been very impressive. He's the joint top scorer in the Bundesliga. He's only the 8th player in Bundesliga history to score 2 or more goals in both of the first 2 games of the season, and that puts him in line with names like Lewandowski, Gerd Muller. So when you're kind of writing yourself into the history books alongside those, you're obviously doing something right, and he can continue to do something right in this match. The bookies are confident both teams scoring in this one. it's 1.5, I think, at the moment. So it looks like a very open game, and the overall odds reflect that. Obviously, with Hoffenheim 2.58 and Wolfsburg 2.7, and even the draw is near 4. So if you look at last season, that's kind of what my feel for the game is. It might be a bit like last season, where the most common result of this game in history is 2-1 to Wolfsburg, and both games last season were 2-1 to Wolfsburg. So that seems likely, especially both teams to score seems high, and Wolfsburg win. I think that those odds are quite favourable at 2.7 for Wolfsburg to win this one.
Okay, you have here the option for Wolfsburg to win with these odds. Asian handicap 0, so draw no bet should pay around 2 if you are a little bit more cautious, or both teams to score, for instance, is another option, even if Wolfsburg, they are famous for defending well lately. Good game, this one, Hoffenheim Wolfsburg. Good odds also for the next one, Stuttgart Freiburg, because the odds for Freiburg are so high. 3.4. Stuttgart comes to this game as the favorite, even if in the standings we see Freiburg on top of the table with 6 points, winning both games against Hoffenheim and Werder Bremen. And even if Stuttgart were thrashed by Leipzig, why are we seeing these odds, Ronan?
I'm not sure. I think it's probably because of the start of the season, the disjointed Bochum performance. They've scored 5 goals. So I think the bookies must be leaning into that a bit, the home advantage. But and Freiburg, I suppose, last week they needed a miracle to get the win, and it came with their latest ever Bundesliga goal in 95 minutes and 16 seconds, and it ruined our prediction too. It was looking so good up until the 96th minute, and then some dockets would have got ripped up in bookmakers across the world, but and online too. But yeah, I don't see where the value is in Stuttgart in this match. Freiburg, as we've seen in previous seasons, they can take points off all sorts of teams, and Stuttgart are a team who are predicted to be in a relegation battle, and Freiburg at the opposite end of the table. They're a team that regularly knocks on the door of Europe. They have one of the best coaches in the league. So Freiburg last season, they won both of their matches against Stuttgart. They won 2-1 at home and 1-0 away. So it should be a match that Freiburg can win, and I think the odds, they look good for Freiburg to go and get it, because I'm not sure why Stuttgart are favoured heavily, because like it's on screen there, Freiburg 3.4 is my tip for this one. I think Freiburg will win it, and I don't think Stuttgart have much about them. I've said it before, but they're a disjointed team. They've sold some of their best players. They're trying to get to grips with their new players. They're in a transition period. So Freiburg, on the other hand, they tend to keep their best players around. Their team is consistent. The coach is consistent in what he wants. So Freiburg will just have enough to see off Stuttgart, and they should win this one.
Well, imagine that the double chance for Freiburg pays 1.77. Is so good, and you get your money, as you can see here, or 1.75. If Freiburg draw or win this match, the odds are brilliant for backing Freiburg in Stuttgart. Next game, tough one. Actually, the bookies think this is going to be a draw. We have Werder Bremen and Mainz, both at the bottom of the standings. Bremen with 0 points, Mainz with 1 point, because they were able to draw against Frankfurt. Oof, this one, I guess, is a tough one. Which way should we go?
Yeah, it does look, none of those markets really offer much value, do they, for Werder or Mainz, because it's hard to predict which of the two might come out on top. It's hard to predict it, even if it will be a draw, because both of them have shown nothing really so far this season. They haven't really impressed. Obviously, injuries have played a big part in that. Bremen have had a lot of injuries and suspensions early on, so they've been forced to make kind of unexpected team selections. We've seen Oliver Burke playing as a left wing back for them. We've seen Jens Stag even play as the kind of holding midfielder, the number 6, which he's not used to. So Werder Bremen, they're kind of all over the place tactically. Mainz as well, they have injury problems of their own. 𝐜𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐿 looks set to miss out again this weekend. Obviously, he made headlines the first weekend, being the first player in Bundesliga history to miss 2 penalties in the one game. But at least he won't do that this week. At least he won't do that this weekend. But I think Mainz were fortunate that Frankfurt didn't punish them a lot more last weekend, because they gave the ball away a lot in kind of difficult positions. They were lucky as well that they had to play the last 30 minutes against 10 men. It could have been a different scoreline. Frankfurt came back even with 10 men, but if they had 11 men, it would have been a totally different outcome, I think. But I think this one is going to be kind of a gritty match. There's going to be a lot of efforts and maybe not a lot of great efforts in it. Both teams are kind of open at the back, like I said, because of injuries. They're kind of all over the place. So I think there could be a lot of corners in this one. So that's why I'm looking at the corner market for a change here. I think over 9.5 corners at 2.25 might be worth looking at here.
Okay, corner markets. This one is a tough one. This Werder Bremen, Mainz. And following the interesting games in the Bundesliga, we have the late kickoff on Saturday is Borussia Mönchengladbach, Bayern Munich. And when we see this match, we always have to check the head-to-head, because this is the worst game for Bayern Munich in the recent times. In the Bundesliga, we just need to check the head-to-head between these two teams. And last season, for instance, Gladbach won the home game. They drew away. We have the game in the Cup in 2021, 5-0 for Gladbach. To see Bayern Munich winning in this ground, we have to go to March 2019. They stormed Gladbach 5-1 away. But this is a game that historically is very tough for Bayern Munich, and it's going to be a good test. I want to ask you a couple of questions about Bayern Munich. First one, if you see a lot of changes from the system in this new time with Thomas Tuchel on the bench, if we are seeing a different Bayern Munich than we saw in the last months of last season. And of course, apart from the goals, how do you see Harry Kane landing in Munich?
Yeah, I think we are seeing some sort of changes to Bayern Munich under Tuchel, but he keeps calling out for a new number 6. He wants the board to sign one. He's very vocal in his press conferences about signing this new number 6, and we see that he's playing the traditional kind of Leon Goretzka, Joshua Kimmich midfield, which all his predecessors have kind of done, but it's just not working out the same. They don't seem to be gelling the same way. So Tuchel keeps asking for this number 6 player, and you kind of wonder how Kimmich might be feeling, because that's meant to be him. And Tuchel is looking for Kimmich to do something different. Obviously, Kimmich he's a great all rounder, and he gets to push forward more, but it hasn't really been look that great under Tuchel so far, because Goretzka hasn't been as physical as we know he can be. He hasn't been as incisive in the tackle as he can be. So I think a lot depends on Bayern Munich's midfield, and Tuchel has a lot of problems there at the moment, maybe problems of his own making. That we've seen that at previous clubs, that sometimes these are problems of his own making, but we have seen them, and hopefully Harry Kane, for Tuchel's sake, can continue to paper over the cracks. Kane, you're asking, he seems to be settling in well. He wasn't as involved as you'd like to be yet, but I think he's getting used to his new teammates. We obviously seen a change in the attacking lineup last week. �𝐭𝐴𝐧𝐿 started, and then he provided an assist, but Coman and Kane looked to maybe gel a bit better than Gnabry and Kane, and so it kind of gives headaches to Tuchel which wingers to play are outside him. Sané obviously has shown at stages in the early season and in the pre-season. So who does he play around Harry Kane? And Musiala's absence then last week, that kind of threw another spanner into the works. Do you bring Thomas Muller back in for him? How do you set up? So I think Tuchel, he's trying to do things, but I think sometimes his hand is being forced. But whether he can get that new number 6 in before the window closes this weekend is a different question, because the players they're linked with, I'm not sure they are hugely going to benefit Bayern Munich and not score. Scott
McTominay.
McTominay is a fine player. We all know he's a fine player, but he's not a Champions League winning player, is he?
I don't think so. Tuchel is depressing. We have Arbo telling us, and it would be good to see Müller and Kane together, actually, as Arbo is suggesting. Coming into this game, Ronan, I see Gladbach to win 8.1. Should I put a small amount, maybe €5, and see what happens, or I'm wasting my money?
I don't think it's that crazy to think Gladbach could get something and could even win this game, because, like you've said, they've done it in the past. Although they're coming back into this game on the back of a terrible result, and I think that's why the odds are reflective of that. They lost 3-0 to Leverkusen, but I think they showed in that they can do something. There was a few promising signs, and I think the injury to Luka Netz kind of ruined 𝐜𝐭𝐴𝐽𝐻𝐻's game plan. He had to change from a 4-2-3-1 to a 5-4-1, and that kind of brought everything crashing down. They weren't going to get back into it after there. And then looking at the past of this game, like you're saying, Gladbach have a better record at home playing Bayern. They've 12 wins in the last 32 to Bayern 7, and the most common result here seems to be a 1-1. So there is value, and there is kind of precedent to expect that Gladbach can take something from this game. And I think the way Bayern Munich are playing at the moment, they can concede goals and stuff like both teams to score. I've seen some of our commenters mention it. They are worth investigating their markets, but I think Gladbach could come out of the blocks well in this match, and I think they could be the first team to score in the game, and that's 3.5. That's my tip for this one.
Okay, this one is a very good game. Gladbach first team to score. That looks very good. A lot of options to back Gladbach somehow, but it's, of course, very difficult also going against the odds and against Bayern Munich. But in the past, they suffer a lot in this stadium. 2 more games on Sunday. Frankfurt, Cologne. Frankfurt, be careful because they are involved in European competitions. They are playing in conference against Levski Sofia, and they got a draw, so they will need to sweat and suffer if they want to be in the group stages of this competition. In the meantime, also, Colomwani is requesting a transfer. Still, he is a Frankfurt player, if I'm not mistaken, but there are 24 hours more of market. And Cologne, 0 points. Perhaps it's a good moment for Cologne to go to Frankfurt and get at least a point.
Yeah, it could be. But I think Cologne, they've not really done much in both their games so far. They've had no goals for and no goals conceded. It kind of felt like both the matches that they've had have been very close, narrow games. They keep things tight all around the pitch, not just at the back. They seem to be keeping things tight up front. They seem to be struggling to score, and they don't really have an out-and-out number 9. Frankfurt maybe mightn't have an out number 9 if Colomwani goes this week. But yeah, I think the goal that Cologne scored, it was a slightly fortunate goal, and I think they were lucky to even get on the score sheet. So they haven't really shown too much. Steffen Baumgart's team, that he always sets up his teams kind of to frustrate opponents, and that's what they've been doing so far this season. But what happens is they seem to tire late on. They don't seem to be able to put in this kind of pedal to the metal approach of annoying their opposition for the full 90 minutes, and then they tend to tire late on, and that's when they can kind of let other teams into the match, and they can turn their draws into defeats perhaps. And on the other hand, Dino Topmöller, he's kind of adjusting to Frankfurt, and I think Frankfurt adjusting to him. He's had a lot of different tactical tweaks and changes, mainly 3 at the back, but he's tried 3-2-2-3s and 3-4-3s and 3-5-2 so far in the Cup and in Europe and in the league. So he's still kind of looking to figure out what the best Frankfurt team is. And I think the players, that kind of shows in them too at the moment. 𝐿 was sent off last week, and he looked kind of even frustrated before he was sent off. Yeah, I'm not sure the instruction was coming through. And like you said, Frankfurt obviously have European games on Thursday nights, but they've had that for years. They seem to be in the Conference League or in the in the Europa League every single year, playing Thursday and then on Saturday, or then on Sunday and then on Thursday and Sunday. So this won't be anything new to them. So they have a big enough squad to rotate. It's just whether Top Muller can figure out which of his players are the best players to use, and especially if 𝐿𝐴 leaves, who is his replacement? Will PSG send a player their way? Will things work out there? But overall, I think because they're at home in this game, the odds for them to win at home, they seem to be quite favourable. I think they can do it because they've been handed an easy enough opponent in Cologne, because Cologne they've just been disappointing up front, and I'm not sure where their goals are going to come from. And Frankfurt, apart from 𝐿𝐴, they do have other players that are capable of doing something and putting the ball in the net. So my tip for this one is Frankfurt to win, and that's just coming in around 2, just over at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, Frankfurt to win, odds are around 2. I was just trying to plug my laptop, but I would do it in a moment. Frankfurt to win and over 2.5 goals, according for Angela Mambo. And we still have one more game, and this one is a very good one because we have Union Berlin, Leipzig, and Union Berlin, they are the leaders. They are scoring 4 goals in every single game against Darmstadt, against Mainz, but also they played in the cup against Astoria Waldorf, and they scored 4. So they are storming every single team, and they are playing against Leipzig, an interesting team, also scoring plenty of goals in this start of the season, even in the Super Cup against Stuttgart, against Leverkusen, with Dani Olmo scoring a lot of goals. Also, Openda looking like a good fit for this Leipzig. This game is a very good one, Ronan.
It is, yeah. This really looks like the pick of the fixtures this weekend, because it's 2 high-scoring games, like you said, 2 high-scoring teams, like you said. They're the 2 highest-scoring teams in the Bundesliga. Union have 8, Leipzig have 7. Bayern Munich are the only other team to have 7. Union Berlin, they're actually the 4th highest score in all of the top 5 leagues at the moment, and that includes teams who have played 3 games, like teams who play in leagues who started a week earlier. So Union Berlin, they're just scoring more goals. I'm not sure I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're going to score 4 again in this one. That seems to be pushing it a bit too much, that they'll get four games of 4 goals. But I think they are showing that they are capable of making that step up this season. I know they got into the Champions League last season, and that has given them a lot of money to spend more, but they don't look like one of these teams that will only be a top 4 team for one season and then disappear. They seem to have invested well, and the players that they have on the books already, the long-term players who've been there before, they seem to have stepped up as well. They seem to be blending in well. Kevin Behrens, he now has 4 goals in 2 games. We spoke about him last week, and him going on his bicycle home after scoring a hat-trick, but he got another goal. So no German player. He's the first German player since 2004 to have got 4 goals in his first 2 games. So maybe a Germany call-up could be on the horizon, that he could be the dark horse, because Hansi Flick he's been looking for a striker, and Germany have been looking for a striker for a long time. So maybe this will be the kind of Cinderella story coming out of Berlin this year. I think this could be a high-scoring match. Obviously, like you said, these teams are 2 of the highest scoring teams in Europe at the moment, and I think both teams could score in the match, but I think even both teams could score in the second half. I think this could be a match with lots of goals. In the tip coming up there is both teams to score 1.8, but I think you could even say both teams to score in the second half. I think it's somewhere around 3.25 for that one. If you were really kind of willing to put that in, I think it could be a good way to look at things in this match, because it should be a high-scoring game.
Great game. Before we go into the international break, Bon Jovi is telling us both teams to score an over 2.5 goals, also predicting goals. 𝐿𝐴, I think Berlin takes this one. The odds are very good because they are the underdog, and Arbo is telling us that 𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐷𝐿 was a great pickup indeed, scoring goals very early in the Bundesliga. Well, Ronan, this is it. Tell me your safe bet for this last match day before we go into the international break.
Bayer Leverkusen, they have a handy game this weekend, so I think they'll win by more than 1.5 goals, and that comes in at 1.71.
Okay, and your ACCA?
Yeah, I'm looking at Borussia Dortmund to win at 1.26. Someone told us earlier we shouldn't be picking Borussia Dortmund to win anything or do bet on Borussia Dortmund, but we'll go for it anyway. So Borussia Dortmund to win at 1.26, Bayer Leverkusen to win at 1.2, Gladbach and Bayern both teams to score 1.45, and Union Berlin both team and Leipzig both teams to score 1.78. That's a total of 3.9.
Okay. Thank you, Ronan. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to press the like to subscribe. Well.